This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disability, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:07 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Singer, in the absence of Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowen,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, Treasurer Bradley, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Present.
Trustee Gavin,
Present.
Trustee Doyle. Madam President, a quorum has been established.
Thank you. Let the record show that Secretary Triplett is on premises. He just had to step out for a second. So Ms. Singer, if you could please, Nate, take note of when he returns to the boardroom, that would be amazing. First item of business, we have approval of the agenda. As you all are aware, this is our work session this evening. We do have a closed session. Actually, two closed sessions feasible for today. One is with Troon Law Firm. Mr. Delano is present. The other is with McGraw Morris, which is insured or provided through Middle Alliance. That particular attorney is not available or present today. So I wanted to see whether or not the board is wanting to go into that closed session as well with that legal opinion. I think he plans to be here at the next board meeting, if you all want to review that as well, or if you prefer to review when he's present.
Madam President, I know it's a closed session, but the second one,
So it's pertaining to previous litigation that we had.
oh,
So there is an opinion that is available today if we'd like to view it. If you all would prefer to wait until that attorney is in person, I would like to give you that option.
we can review it and ask for the attorney to come back and.
He's coming back in May regardless.
Okay, I don't see a problem.
Okay.
Personally, I don't want to speak for my colleagues.
All right,
I'm willing to wait for the attorney.
Trustee Gavin.
I would like, I guess, what did Vice President, Bowen say, review it now and then also meet with the attorney?
Okay, so we can plan to have,
I
it'll
was
be,
asking, I'm sorry, is that,
I have no objection to us reviewing in advance as long
I
as.
was asking, is that what he said?
Yeah,
Oh, yes, he said we could view, he would be open to viewing now and then also speaking with the attorney later.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm in agreement with that.
all right.
Uh,
So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as is.
Is there a second? Go ahead.
Madam President, we did discuss a cutoff time.
I have every intention of meeting that.
Okay, okay, thank you.
If you would like, in the absence of my other committee members for policy, we can defer the first reading of those policies until our regular board meeting.
Can we also table the policy in HR committee?
The policy in HR committee?
Yes,
You mean the HR committee section?
yes, please.
So you're making a motion to amend the agenda with removal or postponing of the first reading in the HR committee section?
Well, we do need to get rid of those readings, don't we? I mean, we do need to do those, right?
Yeah, it's just the first reading. So I have no objection if we defer it until the regular board meeting. I won't be present, but I anticipate Doyle and Bradley will.
Okay, yes, can we do that, please?
Okay, so currently on the floor, we have a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment of removal of the first reading of policies 91, 60, 83, 15, et cetera, as well as removal of the HR committee section, including staff report H1. That was the only thing that they had in their section for today. Is there a second or support? So right now, what we have is an approval of the agenda with the amendment to remove the first reading for the noted policies as well as the Human Resource Committee section. The only thing that the Human Resource Committee had on there for their work session was staff report H1. And that's a direct request from the chair to remove that section. So is there a motion the motion has been made by Vice President Bowens. Is there a second or support? All right, the motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, and concerns?
President Robinson,
Yes.
I'm just curious, it looks like a new hire. Just wondering why we wouldn't go ahead and hire this person and then, or at least look at the information about hiring the person. And the policy reads, we don't have to read them out loud, do we? It's just you making note of those policies for us to review them until the next meeting.
Right, so it would be us running through the policies and then it would just be going over the name for staff report H1.
My recommendation is that you as chair, since you're here, I would rather go over them quickly and get any input from you, being that you wouldn't be at the next meeting.
I have no objection. It's whatever the board's pleasure is. Currently, we have a motion on the floor, so either Vice President Bowens can withdraw his motion or we can just take a vote with the current motion in place.
Okay, so trustee Evan, so you're wanting me to amend
She
my,
just wants to approve it as is.
okay, I will withdraw my resolution and amend the,
You will withdraw your amended
yeah,
motion, okay?
and vote as is. I will say that, with us, the HR, with the human resources, we're not actually voting on that today until May, correct?
Correct.
And the HR committee, we have not, met. That's why I was just saying, can we do that? But if you guys want to go through it, I do support whatever the board consensus.
All right, so currently the motion is on the floor to approve the agenda as is. Secretary Triplett, would you provide the support to that? All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes,
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, up next on the agenda, we have review of the Board of Education norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone present for a comment on an agenda item? Okay, so I'll go ahead and read you the public comment statement. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration and per our bylaws. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to natalie.singer@bhas.org. You have the floor.
And the Ben Harbor area school has failed my children. I'm gonna start with my first child. My first child came here and has graduated 4 years ago. He was sent off to college with not having 3 core classes to even be able to be eligible for college. Okay, and I was told then not to say nothing because it's gonna make matters worse. Okay, so I let it go. Now I have another child here in Ben Harbor High, and I assured that I trusted y'all again to bring my other child back to Ben Harbor because all my kids went to Berrien Springs. So I come to Ben Harbor High with my second child, and he's a good kid as well. But a situation happened in basketball, okay? And my son was kicked out of school. And I was assured that he was not going to be punished other than being kicked out of school. So he got 10 days. And then he got kicked out of school to go to a Cape school for bad kids, I guess. I'm not sure. But I really feel like this is triple punishment because now he's being charged with assault when I was told that he wasn't going to be charged for an assault. So the school board not the school board, it was handled. So now he's being charged for an assault. So this is 3 punishments. He got kicked out of school for 10 days. I was told that he was not going to be behind on his grades. The grades started dropping drastically. On top of that, when we was coming to get schoolwork, it was getting lost. It was never always available for my son. So he was starting to fail before he even got able to be into K. I really feel like that, okay, I was told not to even bring it to the board because it's going to make matters worse. I was, making matters worse, felt like this, he says this is a win. This is not a win for my child. My son is suffering. He's not handling it well being out of school. And it's hard. And I don't feel like that everybody was understood the situation. My son did what he did, yes, and I'm not excusing what he did. And I'm not excusing what I did for myself. But as a parent, I'm gonna always protect mine 10 toes down, no matter what. And so now I'm here talking to y'all about the situation that my son is handling right now. He's not doing well. I feel like he should be put back in school, which is okay. That no one decides that, they said, no, this is the best for him, but it's not the best for him. Now we for to go for an assault and he might get this assault. So he's been punished 3 times. He got kicked out of school. He's back in this Cape thing that he don't talk to no teachers. He ain't talking to nobody. Nobody reaches out but through email, and it's just to me just to say that he has a test. Nobody else is not, like the principal didn't know about the meeting, him being kicked out. Like it's like it didn't go through protocol. I don't know what the protocol is, but it didn't go through the principal. He didn't have no knowledge of it. Then we go straight to the superintendent. He want to talk to his lawyer. Like we should have had a lawyer or something there to help us if that's the case. You can't. Okay. So at the end of the day, everybody at Ben Harbor High failed my son as well as I did, because it started from, they say kids is bad and it started from home, but I have managed to raise 3 boys to men. 2 of them gonna graduate from college this year. All on honor roll. And my baby boy, he was here on honor rolls. He was not a bad kid. His first offense, he's not a kid that roamed the halls. He liked going to school. He wasn't a bad kid that talked back to the students to the adults. He respected everybody. I raised some great kids, all 3 of them, top to bottom, by myself. And for my son to feel the way he feel, like nobody is on his side, that's not right. So soon as I take him out of this school district, it's gonna be like, oh, she just took him out of the school district because she running from it. I'm not running from nothing. I feel like he's being failed. And I'm failing him, just allowing him to come to this school and allow people to treat him the way he's being treated. Nobody is just speaking upon the situation that happened. Everybody seems like my son just did something because we lost the game, but that ain't had nothing to do with the situation. If anybody watched that video showed that man, the guy, would turn around and approach my child. And I'm gonna stand 10 toes, no matter what.
Ma'am, please wrap up your comment.
My comments?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. See what else I got to say, wrap up my comments. I just feel like this was a terrible punishment. He shouldn't have to get 3 times the punishment when there's other kids that does the same thing and come back to school. And I just feel like nobody is on his side and nobody even talking about being on his side. And it's always my fault because I don't do what I'm supposed to do. But when people don't address the situation, you let it go and you sweep it under the rug and keep going and nothing changes.
Okay. I'm not sure. Did I miss your name at the start?
I don't even think I said my name. My name is Donna Johnson. My son's name is Latrell Johnson.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed. Next up, we have approval of meeting minutes. As a reminder, this is a work session. In our regular board meeting, we will be taking vote on closed session 3/11/25, regular session 4/8/25, and closed session 4/8/25. Are there any noted amendments to either of those minutes at this time? If not, I'd ask that the board take a deep dive into those, and then we'll be prepared to take vote in our upcoming regular board meeting.
Madam President,
Yes.
I do want us to start making sure that, I know it's maybe a long documentation, but we can have public record of the board member comments in our meeting minutes. Because this is a public document and we're voting, and I hope you guys understand what I'm stating. It just says board members made closing statements.
So noted.
Madam.
Secretary Triplett.
So what we're asking is, when we get these minutes, for clarification purposes, Vice President Bowens, when we get these minutes, what is being said at the table for comments and what is being said from the Board of Education need to be documented in our meeting, in our minutes. So that when we refer back to our minutes, we will have a summary, because right now, as is, we don't have this information in the actual minute. So we probably have to go back into the recording of the of the meeting and and summarize what was specifically said by, like Ms. Johnson, what she said today should be documented in our minute for documentation purposes.
All right, if there's no other clarifications from the board, we'll proceed. So make sure you look over those with a fine tooth comb. If there's any other noted amendments or adjustments that need to be made, we want to ensure we're ready to take vote on those in our upcoming May regular board meeting. Moving along on the agenda, reminder protocol as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Next, we have board business. Our first item of business is a presentation from Hazard Young, Atia and Associates, and you have the floor.
Greetings. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I have 2 other colleagues that I'm working with, and I am representing them this evening as I come and speak on behalf of Hazard Young, Atia and Associates. There was some information that I was asked to provide. The first has to do with comparables between what HYA offers and what the other firms offer. I've given you that information. That is not an official document because I can't speak on behalf of other firms. And so I'm looking at their information and just based on what I see, so that you know that, this is how it looks to me, but I can't say for sure. They may say something different. But I did the best I could and looking at all of the information to let you know what we are offering and what it looks like they are offering. I would say that what HYA has to offer is indeed comparable, if not at a higher level than what the other firms are offering. And we felt very confident in what is taking place. We also provided for your review a letter of agreement, because before we can go into actual work, and we want to start that as soon as possible, we need to have an agreement between the school district, the school board, and Hazard Young and a TS saying, this is what we're looking to receive. So that information is there for your perusal. And as soon as I can get signatures on that, then we will move forward and we're ready to start now. So, and I know that there's an urgency about all of this, but we want to be thorough in what we do. And we want to interview as many people and have as many conversations as we can as we are working on this. Any questions about the comparables?
I do have a question from your research. Is that what you've seen from their website or from the proposals that we were provided?
From the proposals that were provided. Yes, I just don't want to interpret someone else's work and say that it means this or it means that. I know what HYA's work means, but based on what we saw from the proposals, this is the way it looks.
Okay, and so just to give us some clarity, are you seeing an opportunity for price matching or are you communicating that there isn't?
I don't think there is an opportunity for price matching. I think what we have to offer and the guarantees that we have are definitely, at or above the level of the other firms that present it to you. So I think that you would be in good hands, and definitely the value for what you would be getting is there with HYA.
Okay, and then there were a couple questions that I did receive from the board for you in advance. Were you planning to speak to those?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you can
Yes, I am.
proceed.
Definitely, okay. One question had to do with networking capabilities and the procedures that HYA uses to check the backgrounds of those candidates that we refer to school board. You will see that in the information that the board has an option for. We do our own checking, but then we have more in-depth checking that the board can agree to. And usually that's with the finalist or with the 2 or 3 finalists for the position, where you do a deep dive into their background. And if you take a look at the comparables, I indicated in there what those 2 levels are. One is a standard due diligence. The other one is a more comprehensive due diligence, where we go into really checking into Social Security, their background, looking at any lawsuits or anything else that may be related to that particular candidate. So that gives you an opportunity, and most districts, at least with a finalist, you will do a deep dive into what that person is bringing to the table. And in some instances, the boards will look at if they're between a couple of candidates, they will want the information on both. So you can see that for the simple or the not as involved or lack of not being a comprehensive study, that's 1,100 and the other one is 1,900. And usually you're looking at the finalists when you're looking at all of that information to find out. And that one includes, the comprehensive includes social media as well as all other sources. Before you even get to this, when we are bringing candidates to you, we have had conversations with not only the references they list, but also we know a lot of people that they know. And so we are talking to people who are not listed as references, because everybody lists their people who are favorites of theirs or who will say good things about them. We don't stop there. We go deeper than that. Our network, which is a national network, we know people all over the country that we work with, and they know candidates all over the country. So I can pick up the phone and call and say, what can you tell me about this candidate, et cetera. So we're able to get that information. Okay. Longevity for superintendents. Have we worked with boards who have had issues with superintendents, and what type of services are offered to strengthen the board superintendent relationships? Yes, we have. I don't think there's anybody who has not worked with some district where there may be a rift between the superintendent and the board, and we want the situation, or we want the work between the superintendent and the board to be positive. And so that means sometimes getting a mentor for the superintendent. You know, we'll get mentors for teachers. We'll get mentors for other people, but sometimes we don't think about getting a mentor for the superintendent. And I will tell you, those superintendents who have had mentors have benefited from that and helped them to get through some rough spots so that they can be successful. Also, I, in addition to my colleagues, have done board superintendent relationship training with a number of districts where we work with the board and we identify what are the expectations of the board for the superintendent. What's the superintendent's expectation from the board? And then how do we do some spot checks to see, are we doing what we said we were going to do? So that's really important, that we are establishing expectations and monitoring how we're doing. Any other questions regarding that? But that's not uncommon that there are some, but you want to really nip it in the bud as soon as possible and not wait until things just continue to erode. Okay, so mentoring, training, the question was, and goal setting. Goal setting is really important. We many times will set goals for the superintendent, but do we set goals for the board? So if we know that the board has some areas that it needs to work on, goals need to be set for the board, and monitoring, how is the board doing with those goals? So those are all a part of what tends to go on and increases longevity when you're having the conversations up front. Expectations, clear on expectations so that nobody is guessing, well, I thought you wanted me to do this, or I thought you wanted me to do that. No, what are the expectations? Let's be clear, let's have them in writing, and then we know that we'll be successful. The last question, the board developed its superintendent profile and most recent meetings. Explain how this will benefit the search as it relates to reducing the time frame. Anything that the board has already done can definitely be taken into consideration. And as we take a look at the search process, it can be as long or as short as the board wants it to be, but we want it to be thorough. So we don't want to rush through anything where basically it's like, oops, we didn't do this, we should have done that. We want to be sure that we cover all the bases, that we ask all the questions, that we're hearing from the constituents. You know, people, when they are involved in the process, then they're much more likely to respect the process and support the process. So we want to hear from as many constituents as possible so that people feel that they have been heard. Let's see. So what you have done can definitely be used, but there may be some other areas that also will need to be covered to be sure that we're being clear and transparent. And as we talk with candidates, we don't want any surprises about what the board is looking for. We want them to know up front that this is what the board said and this is what the board is looking for in its next superintendent. I know you talked about academics as being an area of concern. You also talked about some of the social, emotional, and some other areas. So we want to be sure that as we're building this profile, that those areas are included, and there may be some others that you come up with, and we can even give you some ideas if you need those.
Okay, so that was my question, to go a little bit more in detail. So we in 2019 we utilized a search process then. And so there we did the community forums and things of that nature, and there was a profile that was developed in that season. And so what the board did was went through that particular profile to determine if there were any changes or alterations that we want to make, and we already know what that looks like. So I guess my question is, there's a period that's from April 29th through May 14th that's developing a profile that we've already voted on. So I'm wondering if we're able to alleviate that 2-week window there.
We can do that.
Okay,
I think you just want to be sure that your community and others, know that you are using information that you obtained from the last search. And that's what you're going on, so that we're not maybe having as many conversations, et cetera, as you did before. So definitely, this is the board search. This is not HYA's search. So whatever it is you want, however you want to do this, we can follow through. Okay.
okay. Any question? You can continue if you have more, but I can open it up for more.
That
Questions?
is basically it. We want to get started as soon as possible with the advertising. HYA has an extensive website where we list not only the searches that we're doing, but also searches that other firms are doing, so that they come to our search engine and they are able to see everybody who's listed, even though they may not have been aware of your position. So we are very thorough. We also have a booth at all national conferences that are education related, so that people come over and can ask us about what positions are available, et cetera. So that's a part of our advertising and how we make people aware of the district and that the position is available.
All right, any questions from the board table at this time? Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, President Robinson. Again, I want to thank you for coming. The deciding factor for me, or one of the deciding factors for me, was your dashboard and the ability for the board to be able to review, the transparency for the board to be able to review the applicants. Just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that process, how soon, after candidates start applying, will we be able to access that information? And yeah, how would that go?
Well, and I contacted someone yesterday about that, setting it up so that once we get that signed letter of agreement, we're ready to go. And so the board will give you the password. The board will have access to that portal. So therefore, that will be immediate as soon as we get the information. So definitely, not a
So-
problem.
So if you started posting tomorrow, I know that there's a process,
Right.
but if you started posting tomorrow and a candidate puts their information in within the few days, we would be able to see those.
Yes,
Okay, great.
yes.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
I think we just really, just with the whole confidentiality piece, we want to be sure that we're not violating anyone's confidentiality, because the board, this portal is for the board. It's not for the community. So we want to be sure that, people's names are not released or things along that line. So, but yes, so soon as, so I told them after I leave from this meeting, and once I do get the signed letter of agreement, that we're ready to move forward with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions from the board? Secretary Triplett and Vice President Barnes?
Well, I don't know if you watched the meeting last week.
Yes, I did.
Want to apologize.
No, I said, who is that masked man? No, I didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, this has been something, that we're familiar with.
Mhm.
And one of the frustrations of our community is the fact that we're at this state again. And so, as boards come and as boards change and what have you, situations and circumstances, oftentimes for me, it seems like there are these search committees or these search firms that help you look for your superintendent. All of these firms are directly or indirectly connected to one another. There's a group of people that they have connection with people in the state and all of these different things. And so for me, I was telling our president that I was very nervous about that,
Mhm.
because this is a very, very serious matter. So we're not just sitting up here as a board that, we have some board members who wanted to go another way, what we go through and select our own superintendent, all of those, some things that when you guys are doing this type of work for us, the I guess the thing is this, and I think that kind of stood out with me and made me be able to, using the process of elimination, to say that this looks unfamiliar. It doesn't look like the business as usual type organization. You did look like one of our staff members, Cindy Goodson, and I did say, you know, a lot of times when they come to a district, I don't know what people always say, like ours, they put a black face in the front.
Mhm.
And so, you know, okay, the black school district, we're gonna put the black representative up here, and this person we're gonna have. And then when we get into the work, it's something completely different.
Right. I will tell you that I pride myself on the work that I do. I take this very seriously. And I will tell you, knowing that this is Benton Harbor and knowing where I grew up, which is in a district very similar to this, and also knowing where I served as superintendent, my last district, I was there for 8 years as superintendent, and basically it was primarily Hispanic. And it was the district, the first district in the state of Illinois to be taken over by the state due to finances. And so when I came in, the board didn't believe or didn't know if I could come in and do the work that needed to be done. And so I adopted the theme, sit back and watch us soar. We're going places. And sure enough, we had kids from that district who ended up going to Yale, ended up going to other Ivy League schools, et cetera, when nobody believed in them and believed that they can do it. So I have a passion for districts like this, where kids have not been successful and where people have perhaps had a black eye on the district. So I am determined to do everything I can and to find the very best candidates who can do the work, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk.
All right, we have Vice President Bowens next.
Thank you. I got a quick question. I'm a researcher and I researched your company. I went on your website. I see that you just did a superintendent search with Milwaukee Public Schools. But also I did some research and I seen that it was an issue in finding a superintendent for Memphis Public Schools. Or in San Diego, not San Diego, if you look at the article, April 28th of 2018, that it was some history. How has your success been in making sure that you guys do get candidates? Because I've seen, it's good and bad reviews. I'm just being honest. That's the world we live in, and it's some successful and some not. What is your success rate individually in making sure the schools that you work with get a qualified superintendent?
Thank you so much for asking that question. I think it relates to not only just getting the superintendent, but keeping in mind, as I said, the board selects the superintendent. We bring the board candidates. And sometimes the board may select a candidate that I may feel that, oh, I really think they should have gone with another candidate. But also in selecting the candidate, what happens after that candidate is identified? So what type of work is being done between the superintendent and the board to increase the likelihood of success, rather than seeing that the district is not going to be, or the superintendent is not going to be successful? So some of the areas I talked about earlier, as far as training, and sometimes districts decide to do it through the state association. Other times they decide to do it through HYA or get other people to do the training for them. How are we supporting the superintendent? Success requires support on both sides. And really, so that we're coming together and we're communicating so that we can avoid some of those pitfalls. So I'm invested in that. And if that's something that the board wants, then we're definitely willing to be a part of the solution. But it takes more than just hiring the superintendent, because the superintendent have been good in another district and then come here and not experience the success. And you wonder, well, what happened? Why is that not the case? So it's got to be that there is some work being done along the way.
So, thank you. The reason I asked, for example, John Chancellor, he was the former EMU in Michigan. Then he went to Kansas City Public Schools. For example, I'm getting ready to buy a car and I'm looking on Carvana and I'm seeing all of these recommendations. But when you look at the work history where he quit 2 different superintendent jobs, but he was recommended, that's what I'm worried about. Like, we can get a good resume and a good book, but then when you open that cover and you read it, you're like, this isn't.
And I think you have to ask yourself, was the fit right for him in those other places? Is the fit right for him in whatever district he may be in now? Because here again, I talk to people all the time. I just talked to someone who had been not a superintendent, but a central office administrator. In the last couple of weeks, she was recommended to give me a call so that I could have a conversation with her about what she needs to do. And she may have difficulty getting a superintendent seat. So I think that, like I said, we want to do as much work up front and try to create a venue for success rather than waiting until after someone fails. And then we want to do our homework up front in selecting a person and knowing that this person has the characteristics that we're looking for and is able to do the work that we're identifying. But what means being transparent, as we talk about the board needs to be transparent,
Right.
and the candidate needs to be transparent, because if the person is walking into something that they had no idea that they were walking into, that's going to be a problem. So are we letting them know, and are they up to the challenge? And being a superintendent today, especially in some struggling districts, is a challenge, but the work can be done. And I've witnessed that the work can be done and a district can be moved forward.
Thank you.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes. I appreciate the fact of the background check. I tell you why, because I remember being in the teachers union at this time, and we got a letter, we got a new superintendent, and we got a letter from the previous district, a sympathy card, and said, you have our deepest sympathy on the superintendent that you're getting. And so I don't want that to happen to us again.
Yes.
I want to make sure that, you guys go to the place where they actually work, talk to the people that they actually supervise, because many people put wonderful things on their resumes and they can talk a good game in interviews. But when you really get down to the nitty gritty of their career, they're in lawsuits, or had been fired or whatever. So as long as we can get that part taken care of, I'm a happy camper.
Yes, and we will definitely do that. I received a call this past week regarding a candidate for a superintendent position. And here again, somebody who just really shines in an interview. But basically, I said to the consultant who was with our firm, you need to call this person and talk to them and see what they have to say. And they did call that person, and they received, it was more than just the show that had been put on, but there were some concerns. And in fact, I even contacted someone else as I was driving here, who I know used to work for that person. And I said, would you recommend? And she said, no. So therefore, you do have to dig deep, and it's not just the references that are given, but it's also who else really knows this person, has worked with them, et cetera. And you want to get to those people.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you. One of the things that we really appreciated was the guarantee that you provided regarding us parting ways with the superintendent within the first year, or as far as within the 2 years of majority of the board is in place. I would like some clarification on what a due diligence expense is.
That's the in-depth background check. You have and the comparables that I gave to you, it talks about what it is that we do. And it's really the in-depth background check that I talked about, where we look at social security number, any aliases, just look at everything in detail. And we have a third-party company that does that, who has the expertise in looking deep into all of that information. So that's what the due diligence is. And even though there's a cost involved with that, and the standard due diligence is $1,100, the comprehensive, which we suggest for superintendent finalists, is $1,900. But it is definitely worth it because they go into everything, and so that nothing is missed, social media as well as every other area.
Okay, my second question is pertaining to the additional on-site consulting days billed at 2,500. Are there standard consulting days within the fee that we're paying? So
Yes.
that's if there's additional work that we
Yeah.
require. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
And then the third question that I had is pertaining to item E, recruitment of other positions if the board employs an HYA recruited candidate within 1 year of the close of the superintendent search. In addition to the position of superintendent, 10% of the base salary will be due to HYA for the recruitment of said candidate. So is that in the sense of if we just choose to hire someone that we find through you, what if that person chooses to apply on their own and we hire them?
Right, if you hire someone who is, you already have someone under contract and you decide to hire someone else, is that what you're asking me, or?
So what your verbiage says in the contract, recruitment of other positions. If the board employs an HYA recruited candidate within 1 year of the close of the superintendent search, in addition to the position of superintendent, 10% of the base salary will be due to HYA for the recruitment of said candidate. So I took that to mean that if you present a candidate to us for the position of superintendent and we in turn hire them as assistant superintendent, then we owe you 10% of their base salary. And so my question is that only if we choose to appoint that person? Like, what if they on their own regard choose to apply for an alternative position within a year? Do we still owe you 10% of the base salary
No, it would be if the board recruits someone and decides to hire someone.
based on your
Yes,
efforts?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Um,
Would you be the contact person for this entire process?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I'm the lead on this search, so I'm looking forward to doing it and excited about the possibilities.
Okay, the last question that I have as it relates to transparency with the public, I can provide you with the profile that we developed. I'm even open to opening a window of a community survey or something to that extent, maybe doing a press release, gearing people to give us that feedback so we can get some input. I just don't want us to take 30 days or 3 weeks to develop something when we know exactly what it is we're looking
Right,
for.
definitely. And, so that is not a problem. So whatever you have, we can definitely use. And if you want to have some input from the community or anyone else on what already exists, we can deal with that. But whatever, it's up to the board. This is the board's search. So what the board wants is how we will follow through.
Secretary Triplett.
So when you look at what we pulled together, as things that we were looking for, or what we would be looking for, some of the areas that we really, really wanted emphasis placed upon. Do you all also look at those and based on your experience in the role of searching for a superintendent? Do you add some things? Do you make some recommendations? Because there might be areas that we missed that
Definitely.
you all feel that we should look at these particular areas based on what we've already presented?
Yes, we will give you recommendations. So we will take a look at what you have. If we see that there's some gaps, we'll want to know, well, have you thought about this? Or would you like to add this, that, or the other? So that definitely can be done.
Okay, so if there's no other questions from the board at this time, I would like to thank you. Go ahead. You have one more?
Your name is Ms. Collins, Dr. Collins,
Constance Collins, Connie Collins, whatever you want to call me is fine.
Dr. Collins,
Yes,
Dr. Collins. I just have one question.
yes,
Can we trust you?
yes, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Definitely, without a doubt. No, I shouldn't be in the job and doing the work that I'm doing if I cannot be trusted. So the confidentiality is between the board, and I will hear again, as I say, it becomes important that board members are not going outside of the board,
Right.
having conversations about things that happen in closed session, et cetera. So trust goes both ways. And
Yeah.
so therefore, that is not a problem. Thank you so much. It's been great being here, and I'll look to hear from, because one of the things we need to do right away is to identify a board liaison, who is usually the board president, who whenever there's some quick decisions that or questions that need to be asked, I can come to her. And then the person who is going to be responsible for sending out invitations or anything that needs to take place. And I would assume that that would be Natalie, but I'm not taking anything for granted. But as soon as we can finalize that, and then if you don't feel that it's necessary for us to interview the individual board members, because that is something that we usually do, we can go with whatever you have. Okay?
So we have, I will be the liaison, Ms. Singer would be the backup to send out the invitations. We do have a superintendent search committee that I appointed last week, and that is Secretary Triplett and Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
And I didn't give rationale for their appointments last week to the board. I normally don't indicate why I've appointed, but they are the two board members that have the most years in education, serving as teachers and educators, but also as administrators, the most years of service with Benton Harbor area schools as well. I think each of them have somewhere around 30 to 40 years of experience in this field. So I thought that they would be great to serve on the search committee.
Yes.
So if there are some times where we need to have quicker meetings before something is brought to the board, if it's not just something that's myself, they would be assisting me
Definitely.
with that as well.
No problem at all. And if there are opportunities for us to use virtual meetings at any time, then we're definitely open to that so that we can move things along and try to get things accomplished. But I have no problem driving here and meeting with you, whether it's a committee, a group, or whoever it is that you would like for me to meet with. Okay,
Thank you.
it's my pleasure. Thank
So we
you.
did take the vote to appoint you all last week, but we wanted to officially invite you back to speak with us in case there was any clarifications that the board needed. So I will be signing your letter of agreement and getting that over to you. I don't know if you have a hard copy handy this evening before you leave.
I don't have a hard copy with me. I don't think I do, but we will send it to you
Okay.
and you get it right away. My new best friend over there, so who answers all the questions. So yes, we'll take care of that right away.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Sure, it's a pleasure.
Secretary Triplett, what you missed when you stepped out is that she actually went to school with Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Rocket Martin didn't realize it because of the last name on the presentation. So they know each other. I told her your vote doesn't count. It was a conflict of interest, but she didn't realize that's who she was voting for. So she's very excited to reconnect with her.
Because it was Newsom. It was Stephanie Newsom.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Wow.
And y'all went to school in Gary?
Gary Roosevelt.
Was y'all horsemen or what? West Side? What were you?
Oh, Gary Roosevelt.
Oh,
The
Arthur Crump. One of our well-renowned former administrators, Mr. Crump, was a graduate of Roosevelt High School in Gary. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. Look forward to connecting with you and receiving your guidance, and very exciting. So we're going to proceed with our meeting agenda. Up next, we have a closed session. The Board of Education may hold a closed session to consider materials such as written opinions of council, which are exempt from discussion by state or federal statute. Reference number policy 0167.2F. As I clarified in the beginning, we have two separate opinions, so we'll be entering closed session, but it will be two separate opinions. The first is from Troon Law Firm. We have Attorney Delano here who is stepping in for Attorney Gardner. And then the second is an opinion from McGraw Morris PC, and that is concerning Middle Alliance. So I'm going to state both of those issues separately so that it's clear that there's two separate opinions of counsel, and then we'll proceed. So first, I'm requesting a motion that the Board of Education convene in closed section under Section 81H of the Open Meetings Act to consider a letter from its attorneys dated April 22nd, 2025, for the reason that the letter is exempt from disclosure under state law due to attorney-client privilege. And then the second item for closed business is pertaining to case number 123-CV-01340.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss the two motions that you just stated.
All right.
I mean, to the two closed session matters that you just stated.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so the board will first have a closed session with Troon Law Firm as noted. And then the second closed session will be with to receive the opinion from Morris PC concerning case 123-CV-01340. We are ending open session and entering closed session as of 7:02 PM.
Oh, thank you. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, awesome. So we are back into open session as of 8:17 PM. At this particular time, I'll ask if there is a motion from the board to amend the agenda to include Board of Education motions B1 and Board of Education motion B2 to allow for the votes.
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President,
Yes.
to our esteemed administrative assistant, we need to add these two pieces to our count, if at all possible. Thank you.
All right, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried. It's so good to hear the mic though.
All right, so up first, we have as amended to allow for votes this evening. First up, we have Board of Education motion B1. At this time, I'll ask if there is a motion to authorize the board president to coordinate with legal counsel and take all necessary and appropriate steps to retain a third-party firm to investigate employee complaints, including a whistleblower complaint filed with the district or to otherwise resolve the complaint.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve the resolution that you just stated.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay.
All right, next up, Board of Education, motion B2. At this time, I'll ask, is there a motion to direct Superintendent Calvin Butts to confer with and obtain prior approval from the board president before acting on all district disciplinary and administrative matters?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution that you just stated.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
No.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so at this particular time, the board is going to take a quick break and we are going to go to recess. I do want to clarify that the Board of Education only held the closed session with our attorney from Troon Law Firm. We will defer the closed session with McGraw Morris PC for the next board meeting when the attorney is present. So we'll take a brief recess at this time and the board will return at 8:30 PM. Thank you. Tech is in the building. All right, we're returning from recess as of 8:33 p.m. All right, so next up on the agenda, we have our Policy and Discipline Committee.
Madam
The-
President,
Yes,
I would like to make a resolution that we amend the agenda.
a motion to
Motion
amend the agenda, okay.
To amend the agenda.
You have the floor.
I would like for us to remove Section 3 Policy and Discipline Committee.
Okay, is there, so that's the only adjustment you,
And the HR Committee.
all right, so trustee,
And Superintendent, number 7, Superintendent,
okay,
and number V, Finance, 5, Finance and Facilities.
okay, so you're trying to remove everything but, curriculum?
You said that there are no,
Okay,
can we-
yes,
can we
everything but
find
correct.
this?
But finance, we have.
I want to keep curriculum, but we'll be brief. We'll be very brief.
Okay, so essentially the motion is being made to remove Policy and Discipline Committee, Facilities and Finance Operations Committee, and Human Resources Committee, as well as Superintendent. So the only major item of business would be the Curriculum and Student Support Services Committee item. Is there a second or support? Superintendent Buzz has conferred with Vice President Bowen's recommendation. Is there a second or support from the board?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like to, the finance and facilities, finance is something critical. I'm not sure exactly if everybody's read what's in there, what's going to be presented from the finance, but if it's not something that is urgent, other than our director giving us the information, but I think we should.
So Dr. Bus has indicated it could be a small committee, being that no decision is made. He could have a set-alone meeting with the Finance and Facilities Committee, and then they can just provide an update to the board at the regular board meeting.
Fine.
All right, if there's no other questions or concerns, as well as policy and discipline, we were just scheduled to do our first reading. We'll do our first reading in the next regular board meeting. Vice President Bowens will lead, Treasurer Bradley will lead that. And then we can just plan that will be a vote that we take in our May work session meeting, where I will be present. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, Secretary Triplet, can you please call the vote for the amendment of the agenda as noted?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes,
Secretary Triplett, yes, Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so I would like for the Board of Education to commit to reading through the policies thoroughly, so that the first reading can be done at our regular board meeting. The second reading and the official vote will take place in our May work session. So with the noted amendment to the agenda, up next, we have the Curriculum and Student Support Committee work session agenda, and that is going to be led by Chair Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. I'm going to turn it over to Director Coach.
We just want to draw your attention to the goals that were requested. Special education has goals that are linked on the agenda. Student support services also has goals linked on the agenda, and teaching and learning has goals. There is a link to the state testing completion rates. This will be updated frequently. I would like to give a big shout out to 4th and 5th grade at Fairplain East for having over 95% of their students tested with ELA, as well as a big shout out to the high school with 100% of 9th graders tested with PSAT and 96% of the 10th graders completed testing with PSAT 10. And And we have 96% of our juniors completed with SAT also.
Amazing.
There are other very good numbers on there, but that's very exciting. 95% is the requirement for the state for the percentage of students to complete the assessments. We still have a few more weeks in our testing window, but PSAT and SAT window closes before the M-STEP window closes. The other two things to draw your attention to is there has been questions and conversation at the board table in regards to field trips. Our CTE director, Wilson, has done an excellent job of coordinating the field trips. That link that is on the agenda for the district field trips as of 4/22 shows you all of the field trips that our students have had opportunities to attend all school year, not just the ones that are out of state or overnight. And there is a significant number of those trips and a very wide variety. So we really wanted to share that so that the school board has the opportunity to know where our kids are going and what kinds of learning experiences they're having. With that said, we do have to finish out the school year 6 more out of state and or overnight trips. The 3 that are linked on the agenda were placed, I'm sorry, on the committee agenda were placed here because they were not completed by the end of the workday. And so the staff reports were not created, but they will move over to the agenda for the regular session. But your documents are there to review between now and then. So the high school is taking students to Ferris State. The middle school is taking students to the Museum of Science and Industry and also Potawatomi Zoo. Then on the work session agenda, the high school band is performing at the South Bend Parade. MLK is taking students to the Field Museum, and the high school, definitely check that out. They are taking students on a civil rights tour down south, and that will be really incredible. So we wanted to make sure that you had all of those documents so that you could review those before we get to the regular session.
Thank you so much, Director Kupch. I'm really excited. I love it when we get aligned with our goals. So I'll be really interested. I'm sure we'll all be really interested in reviewing the goals of each of the departments, and then just kind of tracking how we're meeting those goals along the way. And I'm a visual person, so I appreciate having that. I'm sure Trustee Doyle will also appreciate having a list of all of the field trips. It's something that we will be able to kind of approve on the front end, and talking to Director Brock Carter, that'll also help us with getting grants as well. So excited about that, and congratulations to everybody who helped make sure that testing was a success. And I'll turn it over to Secretary Triplett.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So do we have all of the trips for the remainder of the school year from all of our schools?
Yes, that was the goal after the last board meeting and a review of Title I to make sure anything that had been previously budgeted. We did communicate with all 6 buildings, and any of the out-of-state and overnight trips are accounted for here today for the remainder of the school year.
So with the state testing, I know that the window is still open for high school and M-STEP, right? When is the final day for us to possibly reach 100%?
If you give me just 1 second, I can give you the exact date.
And while you're looking, is there a plan of action as it relates to making sure that those students who are, in that cohort, that they're being sought after to make sure that they are tested? I know that it's not about mastery, it's about that they actually done the test. Dr. Butts, maybe you can help me with that. Are there any plans in place?
Yes, sir. The counseling team is working with the students to make sure that they get all the things that they need, all the content they need. They're also working on putting those students on PCs, personal curriculums, to make sure that if they're taking another class, if they have those standards and those strands correlate, then that credit can count.
Great. Thank you so much, Doc.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions from other board? Are you still waiting?
No, thank you,
Good.
Chairman Gavin.
Any other questions from other board members?
No.
The other thing I did want to, I know that, Director Dr. Burnett did come out, and if you wanted to share something you're good? Okay. Didn't want to waste your time. But the links are here in our curriculum committee notes for you to review about, special education, about the student support services, driver's education, working to, build the schedule for July. There is a change for, the last 10 minutes. We allow for public comments on curriculum committee issues. And so I don't see anyone in the public, but that is something that we embedded in our section. And so that's it for us. Really excited. Looks like Director Coach had one more thing she wanted to share.
I found the dates. Secretary Triplett, you wanted the windows for each one of those tests?
I mean, just when is it the absolute, when it has to be, that they still have it, you guys still have access to materials. I know materials have to be shipped out at a specific time.
So PSAT ends at the end of this week. M-STEP continues on until 5/16. ACT work keys ends at the end of this week. So when we look at M-STEP, we have about 3 more weeks, and PSAT, SAT, and ACT needs to be finished this week. So they're pushing very hard to get all those students tested.
Those junior tests must be completed by tomorrow. By Friday.
Yes, the junior SAT and ACT, but the junior M-STEP, they still have 3 weeks for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Director Kupch and your entire team. Thank you to all of our staff, and I'll turn it over to you, President Robinson.
Okay, so I do want to direct the Board of Education's attention to staff report C1, C2, and C4. Is there an anticipated C3? Was there a reason that number was skipped? Director Kupch? Is there a C3 that was removed? Or shall there be a C3 in the next meeting?
There will be a C3. It's one of the high school field trips, and they were not ready for that form to be previewed, but it is now ready and it's linked on the curriculum committee agenda.
Okay, so just a point of clarification for the board, you will be asked to take a vote on staff report C1 regarding the Benton Harbor High School Band South Bend Parade performance. That total cost is $798.14. You also have staff report C2 regarding the MLK field trip on May 30th of 2025. And then additionally, you have the noted
Ferris State
field trip, which will be C3, and then the Benton Harbor High School Civil Rights Tour, which will be staff report C4. I'm asking that the Board of Education does, if you could send out.
There will also be C5 and C6, and I can send those out in the morning.
Okay. I'm asking that the board take a look at those in advance. If you have any questions that you need to ask the superintendent prior to the regular board meeting, that will be helpful. Because you'll have your first policy reading, as well as the finance and facilities update. And so we want to just make sure that we don't get stuck in question asking regarding those field trips. So if you all could look at those in advance, send your questions in advance, that way you'll be able to move a little bit quicker through your regular board meeting. We removed facilities and finance. They'll have a separate meeting. We also removed Human Resources Committee and Superintendent. As it relates to old business, we know that we had the HYA representative, Dr. Collins, here today. So I will be collaborating and connecting with her to get the agreement signed so we can get that process. And then after having more of a concise conversation with her, I will follow up with the board as to whether or not we're gonna do a community survey on the profile that we've developed so that we at least have a window of opportunity for the public to give us feedback on that. But I'm hoping that with us getting that done, we're able to cut down at least about 3 to 4 weeks in the process as previously outlined. I don't have any other old business at this time.
President,
Secretary Triplett and Trustee Gavin.
Madam, we did discuss, and I know that this might be a committee, thing where we need to get those names in and get those people in as soon as possible. So we can get on top of that, you
Mhm.
know, for people that was a part of the strategic plan group of people. Also that would include our directors will be added to that list when we talk about the superintendent and what we look for, because we already have a nucleus. But we need to get those names in, the people that we want to add, that we feel should be at the table, like as soon as possible. So that we can contact those people, and that would be a great conversation, because once we sign the contract, we can have Miss
Dr. Collins.
Dr. Collins, I'm sorry, Dr. Collins to come in and their team come in and have that discussion, you know, with that group of people, because it'll be led by you from basically the same format, because those people did make a commitment and have some foundation, you know, so.
Understood.
Yeah, and we can get that done quickly. And at least give them a week notice and bam, we back in it. They're in it. We've got a group of people from across the community versus sending out surveys, only 12 people answer,
Understood.
you know, so we can do both
Yeah.
as well.
And we can do that even if it's a date, if we do it, even if it's an evening that the full board cannot attend, as long as we have the four of us present and give the public an opportunity to give that feedback, we should be able to get that done rather quickly.
And also, another way to move quickly is with our school principals. Our school principals have parents, they have, many of our schools have parents that come into their schools and work with them on a regular basis, so they can identify a core group of parents from each one of their schools. You know, see if they can get them there as well. And so now we got a large community group of people that's at the table.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Gavin.
I'm wondering how soon we can let that superintendent search committee work group know what would be asked of them in terms of time wise and commitment.
So I think that I will have to, so I'm gonna get the profile signed tomorrow and sent to Dr. Collins, and then I can get that clarified from her so that she can identify for me because she has on the schedule some of the work group options and community forum options that she has. And I can mention that group to her. I can't remember if we mentioned that group when she was here, and I'll be able to give you a response on that.
Thank you. Two more things. The student, I'm not seeing our student board members, representatives, and I'm not sure if they only come to the regular meetings, if they come to the work group meetings, but I'm wondering if they know
Dr.
But
Buss said
they-
regular meeting.
the regular meetings.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm wondering if they know that they can submit names. Also, you know, I'm not sure if it's fair to tell them that they have to choose a certain class. You know, that's maybe an offline conversation we can have about their autonomy of who they would want to represent that group. And then the other is our training. Have we decided when we would have a training to make up for the one that we're not having today?
So we'll have one, definitely the work session in May. That fourth Tuesday of May. Treasurer Bradley confirmed that he would be here the end of May. I think that he will possibly be able to come in on that Monday. For certain, we'll do the Tuesday, and I'll see if I can, of course, squeeze in one, but depending on his availability to come in Monday evening, we may be able to do one Monday evening and one Tuesday, if that works for the board, and get them both knocked out before the end of the month.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, give me 1 second. So just a reminder to the board, we did ask that everyone give us their names. I can't remember if it was by Friday or this upcoming Friday. Was it last
Upcoming
Friday?
Friday.
This upcoming Friday. So if you all could give me your updated names by this Friday, that would be great. That way I can have, Ms. Singer will have the information and I can put together an email with Dr. Collins to send out to that group to invite them to said meeting, as well as kind of explain how we're planning to use them during the superintendent search process. But I do need your updated contacts to do that, and that's due by this Friday.
Do we have the list? Did you send us that?
I
list
sent it
already?
to you in an Excel document.
Okay.
Okay. I did notice that Treasurer Bradley has already sent out an email to the Finance and Facilities Committee to let them know your availability for a meeting to go over your items that we didn't discuss this week, so that you all can be prepared to guide us through that conversation in the regular board meeting. Also, just a reminder to the board, I will be in Seattle that week. Vice President Bowens will have to chair in my absence, but I'm the only person that I believe will be absent, so we should have 6 people available at the regular board meeting. All right, up next, I don't have anything for new business at this time. There's no one present for open public comment, so we'll proceed to superintendent announcements and comments. Dr. Butts?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, I have no announcements or comments.
All right, Vice President Bowens? Well, no, I'm sorry, Trustee Gavin.
That was quick. Just want to thank everybody who came out. I'm excited that it looks like the board is aligned on our search team and excited about that piece. I'm very grateful to see the innovations with the curriculum committee. I think when you all get an opportunity to see that field trip list, how it's color coded, how it's identifying, what each of the groups are doing, where they're going. A lot of times people say that we don't do field trips, but when you see that list, you can see that there are quite a few field trips going on throughout the district, and it'll give us the opportunity to really showcase what we're doing with our students. So just really grateful for this meeting and this time. I don't have much else to say other than I really do feel like we're getting to a point where we're working together. We're listening to each other. We're growing together. And I believe that the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rocket Martin.
No comment.
All right, up next, we have Secretary Triplett.
Madam President, I have no comment.
Vice President Bowens.
Madam President, I have a comment. I'm so excited that we were able to talk to Ms. Collins and hear what she had to say about her superintendent search. I remind the public and my fellow board members that we are in a season of transition. And just as season changes, it will be unique and an opportunity. And I just want to read you something that's motivational. It's one of my favorite quotes. I can bet you guys already know it. If you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the wood, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't ever stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. So to my listeners, to us in Benton Harbor area schools, we must keep going, no matter what's hindering us, what's stopping us, and what the naysayers are saying. We must keep going. And I like that superintendent, when she said her comment. I just believe that we need to keep going no matter what they say, budget cuts. Also, Bering Lisa just got $12 million in a grant to recruit and retain male teachers. So I don't know, Madam President, if you want to reach out to see or the logistics of that. Is that just for Bering Lisa or is that for Bering County as a whole? That's interested to learn. So that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week or the week after, sorry.
All right, so I'll be brief. Thank you all for the meeting this evening and also being flexible with the amendments to the agenda to ensure that the board and our staff are able to get out of here this evening timely. As stated, I will not be here at the regular board meeting, so as much legwork and homework as you all can do ahead of time to ensure that we're prepared to get through that meeting swiftly. I'm sure Vice President Bowens will greatly appreciate that as he has a responsibility to chair. I will follow up with the Board of Education with the things noted as it relates to the superintendent search. And then lastly, just want to ensure that everyone knows that my number one priority as a president is to ensure that the district is unified as it relates to the best interest of our students and our staff. And my number one priority is to protect the district, and that includes our students, our staff, our superintendent, and the Board of Education. And so I appreciate you all support and patience with me as I make effort to do so. So with that being said, I ask, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so our meeting is adjourned officially at 9:00 p.m. Have a great night.